38, RCB skipper Faf du Plessis is going all guns blazing. He is currently the orange cap holder, and that means the highest run getter in this season. He's also been in the news for his most compelling autobiography, Faf Through Fire, where he opens up wounds as a child who experienced tough love from his dad, a broken home, to nearly stitching up stories he had hidden all these years. Thank you very much, Faf, for joining us and talking to us about all that you have written, your seasons with RCB, your Chennai school of thought. But, you know, really not since Andre Agassi's Open have I read been such compelling, such open and honest and often problematic account of a child who grew up to become a star. How long have you been writing or making mental notes of all the years of trauma and tears?
Yeah, Rika, that's a good question. I've actually, quite a lot of people has suggested that Open is the exact same book which resonated to them. And now again, reading my book, it's the closest thing that they've read since then. So that's a really great compliment, because that book is very good. It's obviously also an honest book about his story. For me, it was, a lot of people asked me, especially when I was playing for South Africa, would I be interested in writing a book? And to be honest with you, I didn't really have the energy for it. And it was only really when COVID came, and I suppose we didn't have the amount of time to go and play cricket. We had a lot of time on our hands, and the same question popped towards me again: is what would my thoughts be on writing a book? So I said, let me give it a crack and see if there was something that I felt was worth telling. Mm-hmm. So I really used that time during COVID, when we were always sitting at home with a bit of extra time. And I went and I looked and I found all the years of diaries, of notes that I was writing down, mostly from a captaincy point of view. But then through that, I found that the common thing that was coming through in all the stuff that I always wrote about, which is, I suppose, stuff that you're a little bit more passionate about, is stuff that you want to put down on paper, because I haven't got a great memory, so I forget a lot of things. So I always wanted to write it down. But what came across out of the words out of the diary books was mostly around leadership and around culture, and building a team, stuff that came out. So when I started putting it all down on paper, but that was the first process.
Now, Faf, we all know you for your captaincy skills, for your batting skills. Tell us, what was the biggest challenge in writing a book that reads like a guide to better mental health?
The second part was then finding a ghostwriter to do it with, because I've got a few skills, but writing a book would be not one of those. And I had all this information. So we had about 4 or 5 people that was interested in writing the book with me. But the most important thing for me was that the person who was going to do this basically had to become me. So it was almost like an actor playing a role in a movie. And it was about a 3-month process of finding the right ghostwriter. Some people wrote beautifully about the cricket stuff, and that, as I said, that wasn't really my interest. And the person eventually that I chose was someone that actually doesn't know a lot about cricket, but he was the person that I felt got me the best.
Now, Faf, your autobiography is controversial. Your relationship with father, it seems, has been problematic. You talk about his tough love. How has he reacted to your account?
Yeah, so once again, quite a few people asked me about that, because I'm so honest in my reflection of that. But the funny thing actually was that because it's so important for me that it's not just my side that it gets reflected. The writer also did interviews with my mom and my dad and people close to in my life as well, just to get a outside perspective of not just, you know, my voice. And my dad's recollection was very similar to mine,
Okay.
in that the way
That's
that I
interesting.
saw things, he also saw things. So a lot of people would have thought that, you know, my dad would have been very offended by all of the stuff that was in there. But in a unique way, he's very proud of the way that he raised me, because he truly does believe that that's made me into the athlete that I am today. And I mean, obviously, there's a lot of stories like that out there, like Tiger Woods' dad and all the Andre Agassi's father, and you know, there's a method with people think that it works. I go through that process in the book about obviously the different sides of different parenting. But yes, I did speak to him, and I said to him, the book is coming out. Are you are you ready for all of this? And he said, no, that's exactly that. You told the truth. That's exactly how it is. So he was ready.
Well, Faf, even I would have thought that your dad would have been very, very offended by some of those pretty controversial stuff that you've written about him. Now, let's talk a little bit about cricket. At 38, you've been giving the 20-somethings real competition on the IPL stage. Tell us, what has it taken for you to be the top run scorer this season?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very motivated, so I think it's something that helps me a lot. You know, when people generally get to the latter end of their career, especially after international cricket, people see the T20 circuit more as having a bit of fun, enjoying their cricket with a little bit less pressure that you would find in international cricket.
Right.
Whereas I've looked at it and gone, I want to play cricket for as long as I want to play cricket for. So what do I need to do? I need to be looking after my fitness. So I need to be training harder or as hard as any young guy out there. I need to be healthy. So, the stuff that I eat is really important. I also, from a mental aspect, I'm probably much more wiser now than I was when I was playing international cricket, because I didn't really understand the power of the mind. So I think that's one of my biggest areas of growth that's happened in the last couple of years. And I also feel right now I'm in a really healthy state of life where I can have a balance of exactly what are the most important things to me. So,
Interesting.
I can play the IPL now, and then after the IPL, it's my decision what I want to do next.
Faf, you are in the form of your life right now. Are you not tempted to come out of retirement and play for South Africa in the 50-over World Cup that is going to happen later this year in India?
Yeah, as I said, it's a conversation where I feel like you got to look at the balance of your where I am at physically and emotionally and mentally. Right now, that balance is really good. So even at times where I feel like my body is getting sore and achy, then, like I said, there is that rest and recovery period. I have been struggling with a bit of tennis elbow for about a year now, and I've had some injections into that. So I think T20 cricket is possibly the format that allows me to play as often as I want. So 50-over cricket is a different story. Obviously, that's a longer format. You're a lot more in the field. So it's great. I'm very grateful that the new coach has reached out to me to tell me that he would like me part of. So at the moment, for us, it's just conversations, just to talk about physically where I'm at. So we'll cross that bridge after the IPL and moving into the latter part of the year. But I think more than anything, we've spoken about the T20 World Cup next year in July, which is something that we both want to make happen. So I think that will be the focus point.
Faf, now you have experienced the Chennai School of Cricket for a decade. What makes this team tick, and how is it that they reach the knockouts year after year?
Yeah, I mean, CSKA is a fantastic franchise. They've got some great people in that environment. Right from the top, from Mr. Srinivasan to Kasi, to MS Dhoni, Stephen Fleming. It's just a really, really good leadership group in terms of a very calm environment. So their thing is always consistency in players. You can see over time they've always backed their players. And that creates a space where players feel like they're trusted and they are backed. So then that brings the best out of players. So they've certainly done that very well. Obviously, MS has been a crucial part of that. He's been there for, 14, 15 years now. I can tell you from being there, that does make a big difference with him being on the field. He does influence the group in a very positive way. And I feel like with him on the field, you do always feel like the game is never out of reach. He's always very calm. And obviously a huge part of that team being so successful.
Faf, what about MS Dhoni, or what part of MS Dhoni have you incorporated in your captaincy manual?
Yeah, I speak about it in the book very extensively. I think I'm very lucky to have had some real good leaders that I could learn from. When I started playing for South Africa, Graham Smith was captain there. And then my first year moving to Chennai, I didn't play one game that year, but my sole purpose from that season was to learn. So I would be sitting next to Stephen Fleming, asking him questions, a lot about leadership, I think more than he would have expected someone to ask. And I was just observing MS from a distance, always watching him. So I was stealing with my eyes and with my ears around why he is so successful, what makes him so successful. Because even at that stage, he was one of the most successful international and domestic captains in the world of cricket. So it was just a great privilege to learn from someone like that. But I think also something that I picked up on really early on was the importance of being the leader that you are most authentically. Now, I could never captain like MS. I could never captain like a Virat or a Graham Smith or a Stephen Fleming. I had to find my own way through what is you look at things that you can incorporate from other people. So something that would be an obvious one from MS is the way how calm he is always on the field.
Right.
And I think that's something that's shown through my leadership as well. Like, you'll never see me angry on the field or shouting really at players. It's always just trying to make sure that you are very clear with your players and what is the job at hand or the process at hand. And then you give your absolute best, and then from there you move on. So I think that will be the biggest one that I learned from MS, is just how, obviously he's called Captain Cool for a reason, isn't he? So there's no greater guy to learn about being cool than from him.
Of course, they also talk about you as being another Captain Cool. Now, let's talk about another personality that India absolutely loves, and your current batting partner, Virat Kohli. How has it been opening the innings with Virat Kohli? What side of his personality has influenced you, or vice versa?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing about Virat is his passion, isn't it? I always admired playing against Virat, the amount of passion that he had for every wicket. Every time a wicket falls, he'd be on a 10 out of 10 for passion.
That's true, yeah.
And I'll be just like, how on earth is this guy always so passionate? Like, even if a number 11 gets out, he's the same amount of passion. And every single time he plays a game, you see that same passion. So that for me was, I was in awe of the amount of passion that he had playing the game of cricket. And now being on the same team with him, I can tell you it's so much better playing with him than against him. Because when you're playing against him, sometimes that passion can fuel you as well. I've been on the other side of that. Whereas when you play with him, it's such a great thing to play with him. When I bat with him, opening the batting, and that passion you feel that passion batting with him, and it's really, really infectious in the way that it makes you want to give your absolute best all the time as well. So, yeah, it's been great to know the player behind the cricket player, the person, behind the cricket player. Extremely generous, kind-hearted man. Also family-oriented like myself now. So we've become very good friends, and this year was amazing just for myself and my wife Imri to spend time with him and Anushka, and the kids being there. So just I think we share a lot of similar interests. We've got we're very family driven, fashion, tattoos, all of those things, food. So we do have a lot of things in common.
Now, Faf, in your book that has a pretty controversial opening, you talk about a very, a kid who's in a stage of development, a kid with a questionable moral compass who was transformed. If you were to encounter that boy today, what will you tell him?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think people always talk about, like, do you have any regrets? When you ask a person that question. I think everything in life happens for a reason. So all the stuff that happened to me, even at the time when I wouldn't have noticed it, would have been opportunities to grow. And I think that's the beautiful thing about life. If you have an outlook where you see everything that's happening to you as an opportunity to grow in a direction that you become a better person, then you're moving forward. Because it's always you always have the choice, don't you? You have the choice of standing still or moving forward. So no matter how big the obstacle is or how easy life is. I think now looking back at it, I've done that luckily quite well. I mean, there's a few things that happened in my life that made my course change in a direction that was really good for me, like spiritually helped me a lot in just becoming a better person, a better father, a better husband. So I think all of those things helped me to move into a direction where I keep evolving and growing. So yeah, I would just say to my younger self, enjoy life, but make sure you see everything that happens to you as an opportunity to become a better person and to grow in whatever area that is.
Fabulous. Thank you very much for joining us on the broadcast, Faf, and you enjoy the tournament. Wish you the very best. Hope you continue to wear the orange cap till the final day of the season and also have the trophy on you.